Hello everyone and welcome to my studio. It is me, your Watercolour Wizard, and welcome to this full tutorial of this magical charm. I did use some masking fluid with a masking fluid applicator to just protect all of the light areas in my painting. This painting is going to be very dark. We're going to be using deep colors. So you want to ensure that you are able to retain all of your highlights and the sparkles in this painting, and the best way to do that is to use masking fluid beforehand and just mask off all of your highlighted areas. Now I did quickly show my color chart there in the beginning, but I am gonna just tell you quickly I'm working on Arches Aquarelle watercolor paper. It is cold press 300 GM, and this is a A3 size pad, which is 29.7 centimeters by 42 centimeters. It's 100% cotton and it is cold press. It is professional paper, so it's a bit on the expensive side. I did buy this a number of years ago and I've been keeping it for a special project, and now that I'm creating art for my Patreon channel, I thought this would be the best time to use this beautiful paper to create awesome art for my Patreon channel. Now I am using Core Watercolor Professional Pigment, and I'm using the following colors in this painting. We've got some phthalo blue green shade, I've got some phthalo green blue shade, burnt sienna, Payne's grey, yellow ochre natural, nickel azo yellow, Hansa yellow light, quinacridone gold deep, quinacridone magenta, permanent alizarin crimson, pyrrole red light, and I've also got a beautiful black pigment from Koi Watercolors. It is, oh my word, I just researched it and now my brain has forgotten what that was called. Let me just check again. It's ivory black, just ivory black watercolor from the Koi Watercolor um, big sort of pigment palette that I'm using later in this tutorial. So I just wanted to make sure that somewhere I'm listing all of the pigment that I'm using. And last but not least, I also have some titanium white gouache that I'll be using right at the end in order to just bring forward some of the highlights, especially on the wire that is around this beautiful gem. So I'm starting off this awesome painting journey here on my watercolor paper, just bringing in a first layer of wash, and my intention here is really to just use the fluidity of my watercolor to my advantage. Now you saw I used clean water before I started to drop in color, and as you know by now, that is called a wet into wet technique, and that is just a way to just use the high fluidity of watercolor to your advantage. I always say this is where watercolor paints itself. You give it the foundation to flow into, and you basically surrender to what watercolor is going to do on your behalf. Now I started to just pre-wet the sections there between the chords of the beautiful magical gem, and the aquarelle watercolor paper, especially the 300 GM watercolor paper, can take a minute to sort of absorb your paint. So your first wash on an expensive professional paper like this, I always say it's a good idea to start with a wet in wet, just to activate your watercolor paper, soften it, open up the porosity of the paper to really absorb and take in the paint. And then the advantage of a professional paper like this is when you begin to layer with your watercolor, one layer on top of another, you will find that the paper receives your paint a little bit better than a cheaper brand that might lift your color when you try to add subsequent layers on top of it. So this is just one of my tips to you guys. If you want to experience beautiful success in watercolor paper, I mean in watercolor, then genuinely this is my advice. Don't stress so much about professional pigment and the most expensive brushes. Your paper is really what's going to make your experience with watercolor worthwhile. If you use cheaper paper, then you will be frustrated with some of the techniques that we do, especially with subsequent layers. So you do want a high quality paper, at least 300 GM. That just gives you a thickness and a cardstock in your paper that is able to absorb a lot of water, and your layering will be much easier to do. So in this first wash, I really sort of just want to take a round around the paper to just make sure that I sort of bring in the color in these zones, or it's also called color blocking, so that I know where what is and orientate myself. It's very intimidating to approach a piece of white paper like this, especially expensive paper like this. So let's get into how that I do the drawing. I really like when I do a type painting like this, where I want to reproduce something in watercolor. I don't want to think too hard about the sketch because it can be so intimidating. And sketching is not necessarily my highest or biggest forte. I can sketch, I do try to push myself to sketch. But when I want to copy something like this, which is really complex, there's a lot of detail. I prefer a tracing method, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's still a professional way of going about it, especially if you have to reproduce something. So I print out my reference material deliberately on the size that I want to paint it. And then I do a little bit of carbon, or what do you call it, a pencil, just normal carbon pencil. I will sort of scratch on the back of my paper. I actually have these carbon sticks. I think it's a B6 that I used, or a B8, so it's quite soft. So I will color in the back side of the paper that my reference is printed on, and then I will place it carefully on my watercolor paper, stick it down so that it doesn't move, and then I will use my pencil to just trace all of the important information on my reference material. And that way I'm able to then transfer the outline of what it is that I'm drawing. And then I know that the perspective, the composition, the balance and proportion is all taken care of. I don't have to worry about that so much. Then I can just focus on color placement, color mixtures, and so forth. And I'm also a little bit more sort of free in my application because I'm not stressing about saving my highlights. Now, in watercolor, your sort of strategy is always to paint from light to dark because you can't go lighter. You can lift color, and I'm using lifting of color quite a bit in this painting as well, but you can never return to the pure white of the paper. That is why the masking fluid is such a profound tool for watercolorists, especially if you are painting something complex like this. Normally I opt just, for a little bit of a wax, sort of drawing on the paper in areas where there will be a highlight. You've seen me do this in a number of other paintings, especially during World Watercolor Month. That is a quick and easy way to just capture some highlights. But the highlights in this painting is very specific, and it's also different from one region to the rest. The beautiful highlight on the gemstone is, I think, the lightest part in the entire painting. That triangle is really what communicates that this is a smooth, glass-like mineral kind of surface. and it really speaks to add contrast to the depth of this gem. But the highlights on the wire is more muted. It's softer. It's not as brilliant as that bright triangle on the gem. So regardless, I really focused with my masking fluid on just doing the fine lines with the applicator's tip to protect these areas. And now as I'm going in with my paint, I don't have to stress so much about trying to preserve all these little highlighted areas, which would be almost an impossible task if I didn't have masking fluid in this medium. So that is a big secret in watercolor, especially if you want to do complex compositions like this, to use a masking fluid to protect the white of your paper. So basically you will see me always follow along on the left with my finger. It just helps me to recognize and keep track of where I am currently working on the painting, because there's so much information on this painting that it's easy to feel like you're getting lost. So I've decided with my strategy to first paint the gem after I completed the background and to focus on each little segment as an individual painting. Now, this is the thing about doing something bigger, a little bit more complex, is to focus on little zones and to complete that zone to the best of your ability and then to move on to the next zone. That helps, number one, that the paint don't flow into other areas. So and with a lot of these little zones next to each other, I can work next to them because there is maybe masking fluid that is protecting the paint in that little region so that it doesn't flow into another region. And then I can also keep the geometrical shapes like these triangles and interesting octagonal kind of shapes that is present in a gem that speaks of this thing is, I don't know what's the word, um, created with facets. So it's not a round sort of object, it's faceted, and to capture those facets I really lean into each of these little margins that is helping me to speak about the facets on this beautiful gem. And most importantly is to really focus on the value of each of these little facets of the gem. Is it light? Is it dark? Is it cool? Is it warm? And just analyzing each of these segments as you paint will help you to communicate all of the facets of the gem. So I really love how the cool colors next to the warm colors is actually helping to create more brilliance in the final painting. There is a contrast at work here. Opposite colors on the color wheel are lying next to each other, and that is what is contributing to the vibrancy of this beautiful jewel. So you will see me going into all of these little details and spending a lot of time. Initially, I will just maybe lay down a lighter sort of violet color on the left where there's cooler shades present, and on the right there's more warm oranges and reds and yellows on the warmer side of the gem. And as a matter of fact, it's really just reflecting the fire that is in the background of this painting. I'll call it the hearth. So this gem might be, I don't know, maybe it's an amethyst or something like that, and it's got some clarity about it, and it's drawing in the light from the fire behind it. And it's just a beautiful way to talk about how this gem is reflecting everything that is present in the environment. So really it is like building a puzzle. Think of it like that. Every little area that you're painting is a little painting on its own. And for me, it felt like a little bit of a triumph with each of these little segments as I analyzed the color and the composition of that little area, and looking for the colors that match it, and then painting it and sort of moving on to the next one. And before you realize it, you've done the first layer of the gem, you've brought in all of the beautiful color, and you're able to move on to the next section. So let's just see what I'm going to do here. I'm so sorry for getting my head in the way there of the camera. Sometimes I'm having to lean forward because, especially working with the darker colors, I can't see where the tip of my brush meets the paper, and I have to just lean forward to just see where I am and what I'm doing with this fine little detail, and then I'm not aware that my head is moving in front of the camera. Oh, the joys of creating content for my beautiful Patreons. I'm so grateful for all of you. So, in case you haven't heard, I am redecorating my Patreon channel. My channel turned 2 in August, on the 17th of August to be exact. And you might have heard me talk about my sort of realization and deeper understanding during the Lion's Gate, which was on the 8th of August, and just me recognizing or sort of identifying the path forward as a Patreon content creator. And for me, really, one of the things that was missing on my channel was entertainment value, and I started to sort of lean into this magical wizard after my husband bought me a wizard hat as, you know, just as a gift, in the sense of, when we maybe go to New Year's festivals, or something like that, and we can wear the hats and we can identify each other in a crowd, that kind of thing. So it had nothing to do with my channel originally, but the wizard hat was sort of standing there, and then one day I thought, during World Watercolor Month, I thought it won't hurt. I do like this sort of idea of, embracing the magical aspects of watercolor. And one thing led to another. I did a few videos with the wizard hat and played around with it, and it sort of hit the mark in the sense that more and more people started following me and started to comment that I really like that, and I started to have more and more fun with it as well. So here we are. I'm fully leaning into it as the creative wizard on my channel, and this gave me the insight to sort of expand and to grow with it and to lean more into it and to begin to paint, magical themes. Because sometimes it's hard to like sort of figure out what shall I paint next, and I do enjoy painting botanicals and florals and things like that. But it helps to sort of have an idea that's cohesive and one theme that can sort of relate to another theme. So now that I've put on the wizard hat, there is a sea of inspiration around me, and I'm really happy to lean into it and to bring that forward and to share that with the world. So back to this beautiful painting. I remember a color that I didn't share with you guys earlier on in this episode, and that is Pyrrole Orange. I think it's permanent Pyrrole Orange. It's also a core watercolor pigment. In my palette, it's literally top left-ish. You can sort of see on my color chart one of the brighter oranges closest to the center. That's the one. I'm using it quite a bit, and it's this beautiful orange that you are seeing in the painting. And while I was watching myself paint again, I remember that I didn't share that with you guys. So that's definitely one of the colors that I've used quite a bit in this painting that I do need to mention. And it does have a unique, beautiful tangerine um, vibe to it, and I just love the way that it flows as well in core watercolor. So I want to share with everyone, as I create this beautiful art for my Patreon, what each of the tiers are about and what it will cost and what the benefits are. And seeing that this is the Magic Charm tier, which is my free tier on Patreon, I wanted to share with you guys what the benefits are of this particular tier. You would think, okay, so it's the free tier on Patreon, I'm not going to get anything, but that's not true. One of the things that I would love to share with you that's a benefit is you will see it first on Patreon. So if you are on my free tier, you can rest assured that all of my regular content that I share on YouTube, I will share with you guys first. Um, so basically, whenever I have an episode that is ready to roll out on my YouTube, I upload it first with Patreon and share it with you guys for a day or so before releasing it publicly on YouTube. So you guys will get to see it first on Patreon. You also get my advertising in my videos and in my YouTube videos, because I know that you guys would like to just stay abreast of everything that I'm offering, because you never know when I might be offering a tutorial that you are really interested in, and then you can jump in on one of the pledging tiers that suits your level. You will also, and your pocket, of course, you will discover all of the benefits of the pledging tiers as we go, because I will share with you guys each of these tiers and the benefits that they offer. In fact, I've just looked at everything again and realized I forgot to say that I've made some of my pledging tiers a lot cheaper, not because I've got second guess doubts or anything. I just want to be able to be accessible to more people. So I want to be able to help more people activate their creative hearts and learn how to paint in watercolor, and um, yeah, just share what I know because it's my passion and I so enjoy sharing with you guys. Getting back to this painting, here you guys can see that I'm using that ivory black from the Koi watercolor set. I recently went through a tutorial with one of the patrons that I follow, and I learned a lot from her, and she did a whole tutorial on black watercolor, which in some circles is just as forbidden as white watercolor. Um, you have your purists, but there's nothing wrong with using the correct pigment for what you are painting. And I am the first person to say just get a Payne's grey onto your palette and you'll be fine, which might be true. But she changed my mind about black, and it just gives you so much pigment. And as you guys know, watercolor dries lighter than when you apply it. So it looks pitch black now, but it will still dry a little bit lighter. And I want this to be really black, because that's what the color is. That depth is really important, and it's going to help ground this jewel. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for me to try out the black pigment. And the only black I've got, because I don't buy black, is from a set, the Koi watercolor set. And I thought, okay, well, I just reconditioned that set of mine, and you guys can check out that video also on my playlist. Um, And I am blown away by the potency of this pigment and how well it suits this beautiful painting that we are doing. I'm really happy, and now I can say I'm converted. I'm definitely going to look out for a professional black watercolor now that I know how potent it is and how beautiful it is and how it can affect your mixes. If you want to maybe tone things down, Payne's grey is very blue, so there's nothing wrong with it if that's all you've got. I've been painting it with it for years, but the warmer, deeper, darker black pigment is really, really amazing. I think I will do a tutorial, a demonstration for you guys and just showcase the difference between Payne's grey and black, so that you guys can see that for yourselves. I think I must add that to the list. So I'm really just enjoying filling up, and it almost looks like this painting is done because the masking fluid that is still protecting the white of my paper as I'm painting now the darkest color on this painting, is still protecting the white of my paper. In fact, here you can see me removing the masking fluid. Remember, the paper is bone dry now. I've waited like a whole day, and I'm just using my ordinary eraser just to catch, sort of disturb that latex layer, and then it peels away from the paper. The success with masking fluid really lies in that you apply it to dry paper, let it dry naturally, completely, no heat gun, and do your painting, let it dry completely, no heat gun, and then when it's completely dry, you can remove your masking fluid without tearing your paper or hurting your work. So those are the most essential rules for masking fluid, and I will do a full tutorial on masking fluids because I've learned some valuable lessons with masking fluid, and it's such an amazing tool to have as a watercolorist. And like I said before, I can't rave enough about it. To use masking fluid for complex paintings where you have lots of surfaces with reflections on them that you want to savor. So more benefits for you guys on my free tier on Patreon, which is the Magical Charm tier, is that you guys will see all of my fabulous videos that I release weekly. um, you will get access to all of that, and you also get access to my Creative Heart Facebook community. You guys can check out the link in the description of this video. Join us over there. That is where I just share with my community. It's a private group, so you know that everyone that's in my group is all about art. They're all about community, and they're all about supporting you on your journey. So do check it out and join my beautiful community. Another benefit for you guys is that you'll get early notification and access to my YouTube live events. You guys can register when I set out that intention to do a live, and then you will get a notification when I go live, and you are able to join me live on YouTube, and you will also then be able to watch the replays here on my Patreon free tier, because sometimes the world is a very big place and we might be on opposite sides of the world, and you might not be able to attend my live. So my free tier patrons and beyond will have access to the replays as well. And then you guys will also get discounted offers on higher pledging tiers when you upgrade. So you guys will notice from time to time that Patreon will send you an invitation to try a higher tier at a discounted price, or for a short period of time to see if it no, that's not the right word, that's my dyslexia, suits your pocket and the level of commitment that you would like to get into. But I would like to add that you can always downgrade as well. So if you want to try something, like maybe I'm doing a class or something in a particular genre and you're interested in that, then upgrade to one of the higher tiers where I do the full tutorials and so forth. And then when you are done, then you can downgrade back again to the tier where you are comfortable on your pocket. I know it's difficult times and everybody is trying to just work well with their money. But your support here on Patreon to me really supports me, and I'm so grateful for all of you on my pledging tiers. I so appreciate you. You make my whole world go round. Right, let's get back into this painting. I'm just really working out final details. It's my final layer. You can see that I used my Payne's Grey now for the highlighted areas on the wire around the gem, and I'm able to now go into the gem's lightest areas and just give them the very light reflections that they deserve, because it's also not pure white paper that I want to leave. So you do want to paint your areas that you remove the masking fluid from and connect it again with your painting. Otherwise, it can look a little bit stark, um, and it looks very rough. It's very, this is one of the difficult things about masking fluid, is to do precise little fine little lines. The fluid tends to want to settle in some of the grooves. This is a cold press paper. So if you would look close up, you would see, sort of texture on the outlines, hard edges. And I like to just use a light wash to soften those hard edges and to unify it with my painting. And then I will begin to look at shadows and deepening that. I think this is the only part where you really see me work on the little greenery at the top. I did lift some areas with a damp brush and tissue because that area was a little bit too dark for me. But my camera wasn't rolling for that first 10 minutes, so I luckily discovered it early enough. But it's not a train smash. At this present moment, I'm just adding more depth and contrast to just finish up that little top area and sort of, you know, bring it to life enough so that it makes sense in the painting. Now, the greens in that beautiful bushery in the top right is helping the reds and the violets in my painting stand out more. The oranges is helping the blues stand out more, or vice versa. So it's really amazing to see how you can use the color wheel to enhance vibrancy in your paintings. And this particular charm just demonstrates those principles so well. So I'm just using a darker Payne's Grey now to begin to define the deeper areas, and I'm just developing the shadows in all the appropriate places, and just going around little details, areas where little white of the paper is still shining forth, and areas where I need the iron bits of this wire to be back in all its glory and all its presence, and it's really holding this gem and protecting it. um, so that is really beautiful. So this is going to take a minute for me more to just develop the shadows on the iron, but the painting in general is pretty much done. There's very little still that I feel I need to do. The last thing that you will see me do on this painting is to use my white gouache, titanium white gouache, to just pop out some of the highlights on the wire again to help define the value scale of very light, medium, and very dark values in color. And you will see that it sort of just solidifies the wire around the gem, separating it from the background and bringing it into full focus, being the main focus of the painting. That will be the only area where I will apply these highlights, because I don't want to distract and pull the viewer's eye away from the magical charm that we are painting. Thank you everyone so much for watching and spending this time with me on this beautiful painting that I did for the free tier. And I can't wait to put it up on my Patreon and to just have it there. And I did share some of the images with you guys. I will add or create what do we call it? A post. I think I can say a post or something like that that has a downloadable link that will take you to the original and you're able to download it. And I give you guys permission if you want to print it out for yourself and enjoy it. See it as a gift from me to you guys to just say thank you for your support and I I just can't wait to share more with you guys going forward. So stay tuned for more and I'll speak to you guys real soon. Bye bye for now. Coming up next on my channel, I'm going to be painting the artistic wand tier artwork, and that's going to involve a beautiful magical wand and magic flowing from it to just simulate our artistic ability to express ourselves in color and to create beautiful magic in our lives. Join me next.